Well, I'm Tim, an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to share here. Thank you, Chris, for asking me to speak, and the guys here. You know, guys, this meeting's probably the hardest one to share at because I respect you guys the most. Because when I was at my lowest coming back, you guys were the ones there for me, helped me out. So, thank you again. It's an honor to speak here. Welcome to the newcomers. Hope you hear something today. If not, carry something. Where did I get sober? I got sober in Chicago. There you go, Danny. Growing up in Chicago, alcohol was just part of the family. I grew up to a child that had a kid. My dad was 17 years old when he had me. He had no clue what he was getting into, right? So alcohol was just part of life. By the time I was 4, they were giving me beer. They say, here, drink. And by the time I was 7, 8, the mentality I had was hit first, ask questions later, we'll back you. God's church is a crutch, you don't need to go there. I remember going to church at 7, 8 years old. You go there because you get the candy bar. So I go there, I ask a bunch of questions, get the candy. They showed up at my house, and it was the first time I got attention from my dad. And after they left, he told me I was never going there again. And I didn't understand why. And the reason this is crucial is it talks about my higher power. And I remember some friends asked me, hey man, come on over. I was in 3rd grade, I was riding my bike around. My dad was supposed to work 2nd shift. I went over there, grabbed a couple of candy bars, like a typical 7-year-old. Came home and the old man was home. And he asked where I was, and I told him where I was, and he cracked my jaw and 3 of my ribs. And my uncle came over. My mom called my uncle, and my uncle beat him up. And I remember seeing that. And my uncle was an enforcer for a biker gang. And everything went to my uncle then. My higher power, everything. I wanted to be like that because everybody looked up to him for whatever reason. And sure enough, I started hanging around with him. He started having me pass bags around, and I got, whatever I want. And I got that false pride, ego stuff going. And I asked him for beer. I had my friends out there, the so-called friends, right? I had marijuana. I had whatever you wanted. I was getting it, and I was king shit. That's the way it was. And I remember blacking out by the time I was 15 on 2 bottles of scotch. And what my uncle told me, he gave me some white powder. He said, this is going to help you drink more. I said, okay. Right on. And we escalated this. I'm not one for talking about war stories because the big book tells me I don't need a script to get here. The bottom line is I had to hit my bottom. What was my bottom may have been a little bit more war stories. It's not about sleeping on the bus stop. It's not about running with the outlaw gang. It's not about riding. It's not about all those days I was up there on the rooftop waiting for whoever to come at me. Get a shovel. Dig further, man. Because if that's what you think it is, being locked up, I was locked up in jail. Yeah, so what? I was in the psych ward. Somebody always here has a bigger, badder story. Big book tells me as long as I've hit my bottom. And what is the bottom? Admitting to my innermost self that I'm done. What does that look like? Well, for me, when I was 27 years old, walking down Ogden Avenue, I know you guys don't know what this is, but it's the west side of Chicago. Going to a hot dog stand that was selling hot dogs 2 for $1, and I had 50 cents to my name. And arguing with them that I don't need 2 hot dogs, I just need $1 because all I got is 50 cents. Couldn't even get a freaking hot dog. That's how low I was. I had 2 kids at home. I had a wife, barely with a roof over my head. I don't know how I was surviving, but I hit bottom. And I did what every tough guy biker wannabe did, and I hit a phone, and I called my mommy. And I said, this is it, man. I can't do it no more. And she begged me to stay where I was. And I did. She picked me up, took me over to McNeil Hospital, which is a hospital in Berwyn. I went through their detox. And they shipped me over to Hinsdale. In Hinsdale Hospital, some doctor walked in telling me he knew what I was going through. And I still had that little ego going, man, get away from me. Go read some more books. You don't know shit about me. But then I related to him because he was telling me a bunch of stuff about he was one of us. How nothing ever satisfied him. He always had to do more. So just because he was on a different side of the tracks, I got to relate. And that's all I needed was a little relate. I went through the rehab. I came to the program, the real program in here. But I got this little bit of glimpse of still holding on to my pride ego because I'm from the south side of Chicago, you know, and I'm over here in the north side trying to get sober with all you rich folks, all right? So I sat in the back of the room, arms folded, growling at people. I ran into a biker that was trying to stay sober, so I'm used to that, you know, the fork in the road, what I'm familiar with. So we hung out. I lasted 2.5 years. Yeah, I worked some steps. I did the bare minimum. We went around. What did it was he pulled a knife on some dude, and I'm like, nah, I ain't going back to the joint over this shit. Never one that talks shit in the program and goes and lives a different life, because that's what I circled myself with. And I walked away. And I got that thought that, you know, alcohol wasn't the shit that took me out, it was crack cocaine. So I drank. And that was okay. I made it that night. A week later, I don't know what the hell happened. 5 in the morning, I'm like, I gotta get home to the wife and kids, man. I don't know what the hell just happened. You know? Needless to say, my sobriety date's 8/15 of 2000, not November. So it wasn't really that easy coming back. But I crawled my ass into someone's store that I knew was nothing like me. And I asked them for help. And there was no, hey, sorry, we alcoholics relapse, none of that shit. It was, what are you gonna do different, man? You walk around here like the 12 steps are gonna absorb themselves into your life. You sit in the back of the room laughing at the winners. What are you gonna do different? I'm like, man, I'm tired, man, whatever I gotta do. And he laid out these meetings I was going to. I'm like, dude, those are at night. Get out. You ain't ready. I'm like, all right, I'll try it. So at the time I was working for a bread company. I had to be at work at 1 in the morning. I worked till 10. And he told me, you go home, sleep 3 hours, you get up, you make dinner, and then you show up to a meeting, go back home, sleep 3 hours. I did it for 7 years. When I got to step 6 of the program, yeah, I wrote step 4 and 5. He was my sponsor. He taught me how to be a father. He taught me a lot of things. Damn, time flies around here. When I got to step 6 is when things started changing. Because step 6, I started opening up and I started learning. And I remember going off on somebody with rage. And I went back to my sponsor, this shit ain't changing. He goes, dude, you think it's a flip switch. It's a dimmer switch, especially for you, it's moving slow. So I got to learn. And I got to learn a lot about my emotional sobriety. Because step 9 tells me I'm halfway through. And I didn't understand what that meant. And I have 21 years, and I'm still learning about emotional sobriety, and I'm still learning about trusting God. Tom, I'll tell you, a lot of things have happened in my life that I'm like, I don't know if this shit's going to work. I went to Chicago. I don't know if this territory is going to be right for me. I'm coming back. Tom's like, dude, just show up. And I show up, and it worked. Yeah, I get involved in a relationship. It worked. And somebody mentioned last year, and last year, I didn't really work on my emotional sobriety much. But somebody pointed out in the program, and that's why I always keep an open mind, the acceptance. There's a whole couple of pages after acceptance that talks about the lenses of his wife and how he had it backwards. And what happened was I was living with this lady, and we're in COVID, and I'm pointing out every bad thing she's doing, which is making that grow instead of the good things. Today, I went back and I learned the good things. And today I'm making amends for all that stuff. And today I get to learn. And today I get to have God work in my life. This last weekend I went out with some great guys, and Tom was like, come on up here. She's going up north. Your mind's going to be up north. Get your ass up here where we are. So I did. We went hiking and we did some stuff. And one of the guys is like, hey man, what's on your mind? I'm like, it's been a couple hours. She hasn't checked in. I'm kind of worried about her, right? He throws on the phone and boom, here comes 10 texts because I didn't have service. Me not trusting God, and God just saying, here buddy. So it took a kid from the south side of Chicago who burned garbage cans to protect the neighborhood, right? To a kid, to a growing man in society, to California, who I don't need to protect shit. God's got me. I got some materialistic things out of it by trusting God and coming here. I own 2 houses. I'm actually closing on my second house tomorrow. I have more than materialistic things, but you know what I really have? I have peace. I don't need to react anymore. I have friends that will call me out on my shit in a minute, and I have an open mind to listen to it. I don't have that fear. I sat with Patch one night, dude, how do you do faith? And we got to talk about faith in God. We didn't need to talk about the basketball game, right? We got to talk about, dude, how cool is that? That's the spirituality of this program. Yes, I grew up in a biker lifestyle. Who gives a shit? I don't care how you got here. Welcome to the newcomer again. Whatever way you got here, you're here. Welcome to the biggest gaming party, man. This is a roller coaster ride, and if you ride it, the rewards are unbelievable. Thank you for letting me